Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The time is 11:04, and I call this meeting to order. Mr. Saeed, can you please read the notice of the public meeting?
Good morning, Chairwoman. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission's 2024 annual meeting schedule. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Senator Byron M. Baer Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of the meeting was provided to the Asbury Park Press, Bergen Record, Courier Post, Star Ledger, and the Trenton Times on December 12, 2023. The agenda and information regarding the in-person meeting and the ability to live stream was also posted on the CRC website. The meeting time and location has also been posted on the website of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and with the Office of the Secretary of the State.
Present.
Legal matters and litigation updates. These are discussions that are not shared with the public. We believe the executive session should take about 45 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Is there a motion for us to go into executive session?
Madam Chairwoman, I will.
Is there a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
Is there any discussion on this motion to go into executive session? Hearing none. All those in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cosa, did you cast a vote?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thanks. All those opposed say nay. Are there any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. As Mr. Saeed mentioned, we expect the executive session to last approximately 45 minutes. For any staff that do remain in the room, they will not be able to answer any questions about items that are on the agenda for today's consideration. We can expect the public session to resume at 11, actually, we'll go 12 o'clock even. Make it easy for everybody. All right, thank you. Good afternoon. Time is 12:01, and we will resume the public portion of this meeting. Mr. Saeed, can you please announce the next agenda item?
Next up on the agenda is approving the minutes of both the Commission's open and executive sessions held on April 11th and the executive session minutes from March 13th. The minutes have been shared with the members of the Commission prior to this meeting.
Thank you. If there are no further changes or questions to the regarding the minutes for both the March 13th and April 11th meeting, I will ask for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the exec session and regular meeting minutes.
Seconded by Commissioner Barker. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the meeting minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Next item on the agenda is the Chair's report.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. I want to start my chair's report today with just a few quick updates on some of the 2024 priorities I announced back in February. One of the priorities outlined was adopting statutorily required annual reports, and I'm happy to say that we'll be acting on some of the medical annual reports later today. The Commission's commissioning a review of the agency as required by law. That is in progress. Initial outreach to eligible institutions to conduct a study of the agency has been completed. Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado, for spearheading that. Soliciting industry feedback to improve licensing and permitting processes. The Permitting and Licensing Committee will soon be giving a committee report to share updates on that item today. And we have established an ad hoc committee to review and recommend changes or updates to the Commission's bylaws. And so I thank Vice Chair Delgado and Commissioner Nash for stepping up to serve on that ad hoc committee. Review and recommend changes or updates to the Commission's bylaws. And so I thank Vice Chair Delgado and Commissioner Nash for stepping up to serve on that ad hoc committee. Review and recommend changes or updates to the Commission's bylaws. And so I thank Vice Chair Delgado and Commissioner Nash for stepping up to serve on that ad hoc committee. Lastly, I want to acknowledge that this is the last public board meeting for Executive Director Jeff Brown. As he moves on to bigger and better things, I must say that the cannabis market would not be what it is today without Jeff's work in public and behind the scenes. Director Brown and I hold what may be the two most unenviable positions in this agency. The duties and responsibilities of the executive director sometimes make the role a thankless job. Nevertheless, Director Brown has sought to make every decision one that he believed was in the best interest of the agency and the industry. Even before the commission came into existence in April 2021, Jeff spent many days and nights, I'm sure, planning and preparing for what the agency, the medicinal cannabis market, and the adult use cannabis market should look like. Immediately in the early days of the commission's life, Jeff and I agreed on probably 98% of things. And I do believe that alignment, that strong alignment, allowed us to launch this new state agency with tremendous strength and vision. From day one, Jeff was supportive of ensuring that the commission embraced equity, diversity, and inclusion, both in creating the cannabis industry and within the agency itself. I know Jeff cares deeply about and takes great pride in his work, and I think the results of his labors speak for themselves. 53 dispensaries serving medicinal patients, free patient registration in the medicinal cannabis program, opening the adult use cannabis market before anyone thought it would happen, and a projected $1 billion in cannabis sales this year alone. The sacrifices Jeff made are evident, and the commission will continue to build on the work he has done over the last 6 years. Thank you, Jeff, for the dedication, blood, sweat, and tears that you poured into this work. Without a doubt, the commission, and indeed the industry at large, wouldn't be what it is today without you. We wish you well as you start the next chapter of your career and take on new challenges. And upon Director Brown's departure, our Deputy Executive Director, Christopher Riggs, will serve as acting executive director. I'm excited to see Deputy Riggs step into this role, and not just because I don't want to be the only one in an unenviable position, but congratulations to you as well, Deputy Riggs, and I'm sure you will bring much more success to this agency in your new role. Now I want to open the floor for any other commissioners to share a few words regarding our executive director's departure.
Very brief, very brief. I just want to say thank you, Jeff. God bless you and your family, and best wishes going forward, man. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Nash.
Thank you. You are one of the most knowledgeable people about cannabis, and we were so fortunate to have you head up this agency. We couldn't have done it without you. So thank you, and Department of Health is very fortunate to have you. Chris, I want to congratulate you. I have no doubt with Jeff's mentorship, you're going to do great. So good luck.
I know Commissioner Del Cid Coso, who is joining us by phone, also wanted to share a few words. Commissioner Del Cid Coso?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeff, congratulations again. Well, thank you, first of all, for the 6 years of your work in this space. The Department of Health is really lucky to have you back. You and I come from the same space, but I wish you the best of luck. And like the chairwoman did mention, we wouldn't be where we are today in this commission without you, with all your help, your knowledge, and I'm looking forward to continue to work together in some capacity. And I wish you the best of luck, and congratulations to Chris Riggs as well on his promotion. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid. And Vice Chair Delgado.
And Jeff, I want to thank you. I think the cannabis market here in the state of New Jersey owes you great gratitude for opening this market up here, and it's historical, And Chris, I want to wish you all the luck in the world. Thank you.
Do you want to say anything? Okay, all right, great. Thank you. And that's all that we have for today's chair's report.
Next item on the agenda is the executive director's report.
Director Brown, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you very much for the kind words. I remember when we were first starting this agency and we were first getting to know each other, talking about, the values that we want to bring to New Jersey's cannabis marketplace, to the work that we do. And, I'm confident that we've really succeeded in doing that. As Vice Chair Delgado said, starting this and getting it to where it is historical. I did just want to share, when we think back to even where things were when I first came in as Assistant Commissioner for medicinal marijuana, there were 5 dispensaries, all vertically integrated. Only 2 of them had manufacturing capabilities. Edible products were not allowed for adults. By statute, they were limited to children only. There were, very few minors in the program. And so, no edible products. To see where it's grown, first in medical expansion and now especially when we launched recreational sales is just remarkable. And so, I wanted to thank the commission, thank the commission members, Chairwoman Wainu, Vice Chair Delgado, Commissioner Nash, Commissioner Del Cid Coso, and Commissioner Barker for, the partnership over these last several years and getting this market started and getting it off the ground. And I really wanted to thank all of the CRC staff who have also put in blood, sweat, and tears to get us to where we are and will continue to do so. Congrats to Chris Riggs, Deputy Executive Director, moving into Acting Executive Director. I'm confident that you have the leadership skills, the expertise, and the knowledge to really be successful. And you have an amazing team around you. So I'm confident. I think all signs are pointing up for the CRC, and all signs are pointing up for New Jersey's cannabis market. So thank you. So. This is my last executive director's report. And I'm not big on long goodbyes, so I am going to keep it somewhat brief. Progress continues to be made with licensure of new businesses. More dispensaries keep opening up. We're now above 130 open retail sites, many serving medicinal. And I'll note there are more medicinal dispensaries now in the state of New Jersey than there ever have been in history. There are more medicinal products in the market than there ever have been in history. It's cheaper to register than it has ever been in the history of the program. And I'm confident that this commission is just going to take what we've done and continue to reform to make sure, medicinal continues to be a priority. And adult use cannabis just continues to flourish and expand. And I'm going to cover some numbers in a moment on that. But, I'm standing firm on my $1 billion projection for this year. I think we're on track to hit that. And that upward trend is only going to continue into 2025. As far as application processing, we've now received over 2,500 applications. Of those, almost 1,900 have been approved. We still have 128 applications under review in the Office of Licensing. There's 312 that are pending resubmission following a cure, and there's 136 applications under review in Office of Compliance and Investigations. You see that number has gone up since last month because we are still receiving applications and they are moving through the process. As far as license issuances, we're now just under 1,400 conditionals, 327 conditional to annual conversions, 168 annuals, and 75 expanded ATCs. In total, 245 operating licenses and permits have been issued in this market. And when you look at the conditional to annual conversions and annuals and expanded ATCs, total awards are in excess of 500. So, that's 500 licenses, permits that are, if they haven't already started operating, are just pending a final inspection to get operation and start serving New Jersey's market. Up for consideration today, 32 conditional applications, 11 conditional to annual conversion applications, 8 annual applications, 1 expanded ATC, and we have 5 annual renewal applications. Patient enrollment, we're at 77,500 when this was taken as of May 6th. I actually checked it today and it's at 77,700, so we're seeing some increase. which is great. We continue to see enrollment of new patients around, between 2,000 and 3,000 every month. So there's still people enrolling, there's still people being served by the medical program, 5,000 caregivers and 1,500 healthcare practitioners, that's doctors, APNs, and physician assistants. I talked about numbers. So, we did announce a historic first quarter. The first quarter of 2024, there were over $200 million of adult use cannabis sales. That's the first time we've eclipsed $200 million in a single quarter. When we look at this is in the second quarter, but 420 weekend. 420 is an unofficial holiday in the cannabis world, and 420 itself was the busiest day on record for cannabis, adult use cannabis sales, or cannabis sales total in the state. So you can look just under $6 million. I think when we have the final medical numbers, we're probably going to be above $6 million for that day. The previous busiest day was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving last year, which was 4.25 million. And before that, it was 420 2023, which was just over 3 million. So we nearly doubled what the market did last 420 this year, and you can see sales were strong across that whole weekend. I think so year-over-year growth for the first quarter was 38%, and I think preliminary numbers for April show even higher year-over-year growth for April alone. But when all is said and done, it's probably going to be in the mid 40% growth range for April. So really good stuff, and I didn't say it in my in my opening remarks, but I also, it's important to thank all the entrepreneurs and everybody who's a part of the market, the advocates, everybody who's fighting to start a business or reform laws and regulations. We wouldn't be here without everyone who's been a part of this process. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to soon to be acting executive director Chris Riggs to talk about some of his future priorities and some of the things coming down the pike.
Thank you, Executive Director Brown. And before I talk about these things, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention some of the success that you've had here at the CRC. Starting an agency and rolling out the adult use cannabis market was no easy task. I want to thank you and the board for setting up the framework and the foundation, and most importantly, hiring an awesome staff. We have an awesome staff at the CRC that gets the work done. I'll be forever grateful for your leadership, your mentorship, and of course, your friendship. We used to say we're building this plane while we're flying it. Well, I'm confident right now that it's built, it's flying, and this agency is set up for continued success. So thank you for all the work that you put in. For my priorities and the continued success of the CRC, I'm anxious and looking forward to working on the clinical registrant permit rule adoption. That's a subset alternative treatment center that requires these entities to do medical research, the medical research that we need to understand what cannabis is good for and the medical benefits that we can get from the cannabis plant. So what we've seen in other states with the clinical registrant permit rollouts is we've seen an uptick in patient population and patient enrollment. So looking forward to seeing if that holds true here in New Jersey. In the coming months, we will be presenting a recommendation to the board for the clinical registrant rule adoption, and I'm looking forward to that. The next thing I'm looking forward to is something that Wesley has put blood, sweat, and tears in, and that is the Social Equity Recognition Program. Our Office of Diversity and Inclusion is putting together a program that will recognize the businesses for their social equity efforts in the cannabis space, hiring from impact zones, social equity, working with social equity businesses, working with diversely owned businesses. So we'll be rolling out that Social Equity Recognition Program in the short term. And lastly, New Jersey's own testing guidance. We've been following Maryland's testing guidance for quite some time. There's nothing wrong with Maryland's testing guidance, but I am looking forward to utilizing the research that we've had our awesome staff do with other states testing and other industries testing and rolling out New Jersey's own testing guidance that can be a model for the entire nation. So thank you, and thank you for all the well wishes from the board. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. And thank you, Jeff. And here's to continued success for the CRC. Thank you.
Thank you both. Are there any questions from the board regarding the executive director's report? Hearing none, we'll move forward.
Madam
Oh, yes, Commissioner Del Cid Cosa.
Thank you. It's not much of a question, but more of a statement. I want to thank his last report. Just have a question on a statement on the patient enrollment numbers. It is 77,000 is the total number of patients that we have now, and I want to say about a year ago we were about 125,000, if I'm not mistaken. I look forward to working with our acting executive director Greg to see see how we can brainstorm and improve our numbers in terms of patients, how we can make it easier for patients to enroll in our program. And, this is a program that has been ongoing for almost a decade now, a little over a decade. So I want to make sure that we continue to prioritize patients and that we continue to find solutions as to how we can serve our patient population better.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid Cosa. Well said. Any other questions? Then we'll move on. Mr. Said.
Next item on the agenda is the committee reports.
Right. So we have one committee report today. That will be the Permitting and Licensing Committee. So I will turn it over to the committee chair, Commissioner Del Cid Cosa.
First is we've issued 40 conditional extensions in the month of April. Unfortunately, we're going to continue to see that a lot of these awardees are requesting additional time due to delays in local municipalities, site control, and funding issues. In previous meetings, we announced that the committee wanted to host a virtual listening session. So we are excited that we are doing that, and that's happening next week on Thursday, May 16th from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. via Zoom. And we want to hear from you. We want to know what aspects of the application process were easy to navigate, what were some of the challenges that you faced. We are really eager to learn from you who have gone through this process so the committee can evaluate those thoughts and ideas and make changes to our application and licensing processes where needed. Before I hand it back to you, Madam Chair, I'd like to thank the committee for entertaining this idea. I think it's always good to take a step back and reflect on the work that we are doing. That is not only impacting business owners, but also, most importantly, their livelihoods. And hopefully you can see in front of you the two graphics. So please feel free to share that with your network. We do have some posts that were available through our social media platforms this morning. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid Cosa. Are there any questions from the board regarding the Permitting and Licensing Committee's report? Vice Chair Delgado.
Yeah, I just have a question for Commissioner Del Cid Cosa. Commissioner Del Cid Cosa, how are we promoting the virtual listening session? Is every applicant getting an email, or are we notifying every applicant? How is that occurring? No?
Yeah, so we are not only promoting that on our social media platforms, but we also send that to our stakeholders. And there was a press release that went out this morning to everyone who had signed up for our newsletter. And so I think Communications may be able to give you a more in-depth report of that, Commissioner Delgado, offline, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. I'll talk to Communications first. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Very great. Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid Cosa. Mr. Said, can you please announce the next agenda item?
Next item on the agenda are public notices and publications.
Director Brown, I will turn the floor over to you. We first have up annual reports on medicinal cannabis activities.
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman Wainu. So we have several reports to adopt here, and I'll just note, there's 2 annual reports today. The rest should be adopted post my departure, but they'll all be done and just requiring edits and board consideration. So, the first 2 are 2018 and 2019. They outline activities undertaken by the Division of Medicinal Marijuana during those years to expand the market. We're required to cover the applications by patients, caregivers, physicians, the number of permits issued, any other major efforts undertaken by, at the time, the division. I did just want to note a couple things. I think the big moves during those years, policy-wise, one was in 2018, the Department of Health, under Commissioner Sharif Elnahal, issued the Executive Order 6 report, which essentially outlined both actions and recommendations to begin reforming New Jersey's medical market. At that time, patients were required to go see a physician 4 times a year to maintain enrollment in the program. And so, some of the recommendations in that report were to, change the statute to reduce the number of required physician visits to just 1 annually. Additionally, we reduced registration fees, made some regulatory changes. There were rules proposed in 2018 to enact the changes included in the EO6 report that we could. And then statutory recommendations. And in 2019, we saw the passage of the historic Jake Honig Compassionate Use Medicinal Cannabis Act. And when I think about the most gratifying experiences that I've had in this position, probably, close to number 1 was the bill signing for that with Jake's family. And, one of the barriers that Jake had was that there was a limit on what patients could purchase every month. And we still have that, but a key facet of Jake Honig's law was that limit was lifted for patients dealing with terminal diseases. And, right after the bill signing, we issued a notice to the entire industry that we were going to stop enforcing the limit for terminal patients, and that was repealed immediately. And to be a part of that, and Jake's family were just remarkable people to take the tragedy that they had and turn it into change that are benefiting medicinal cannabis patients today. It was just an awesome experience, and that happened in 2019, and we started implementing the changes included in that law immediately thereafter, focusing on the patient-focused provisions first. So those are the annual reports. Following adoption, they'll be submitted to the governor and legislature and posted on the commission's website.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the commissioners regarding the information provided? All right, and I do want to note that and Director Brown, feel free to add on to this, that because the Jake Honig law was signed in 2019, and that law added new reporting requirements that were not previously required. So the 2018 and 2019 reports for the medical cannabis activities were under a more limited scope for the annual reports. Could you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, that's correct. And you'll note on the slide here, so for example, it says business development efforts and results by Office of Minority, Disabled Veterans and Women. That's termed under our plan of organization as the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, that Director McWhite leaves. That office was created, at least on paper, in Jake Honig's law, but didn't start to exist until the commission was seated and we started our work here. So, for example, those efforts are not included in those reports because they were not. The law passed in 2019, and we established the commission in 2021.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we highlight that, because as we move forward to catch up on our statutory reporting requirements, I want to make sure that the public also understands that the reports will likely change a little bit as we move forward with adopting the future reports, and to account for those added requirements in the law. Thank you. If there are no other questions or thoughts, Is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to adopt this resolution concerning the adoption of the Commission's annual report on medical cannabis activities.
I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion to adopt the annual reports? Hearing none. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda are the social equity excise fee reports.
Thank you. Director Brown, I'll turn it back over to you.
So, and thank you, Madam Chair. Just real quick, I would be remiss if in talking about the 2019 annual report, if I didn't thank Commissioner Del Cid Coso, because when we were, going to meet with legislators, educate them about the issues with the medical program that needed to be changed. Commissioner Del Cid Coso was with me at Department of Health and, participated and actually led many of those meetings. So thank you, Commissioner Del Cid Coso, for that. And with that on SEAF, the social equity excise fee report, I'm going to pass it over to Director Wesley McWhite to outline the process in the report.
Thanks, Director Brown. This is the last time you'll do that for between us. So, but I just want to say really briefly, thank you for all of your hard work. As you know, some of us, we travel to across the country particularly for Cannabis Regulators Association, and Jeff is a rock star in the building. They all want to clamor to hear what we are doing in Jersey, and because New Jersey stands tall, not just here in the state, but nationally, we can thank Jeff for all of his efforts to help get us there. And we're going to continue to do that, Jeff. And I'm going to call you if I need things. Thanks. We're right before you, the New Jersey CRC, as we know, is required to provide recommendations to the governor and the legislator on what to do with fees for social equity excise fees that have been collected. In March, we held 3 virtual hearings, one for the North, South, and Central New Jersey. And before you are recommendations specific to cannabis, investments in grants and low interest loans to small businesses, economic and financial and technical assistance for cannabis businesses. But even beyond that, the public provided to us recommendations about educational support, particularly for GED programs, vocational programs, and certification programs, economic development that goes even beyond cannabis, particularly for job readiness training, community activities that are sustainable, that lead to more economic activity even beyond cannabis, supportive services like food assistance, supportive services for reentry organizations for individuals that were incarcerated that are looking to be productive citizens again upon their release, and also cannabis business ownership and advocacy communities also gather together to provide comment and recommendation to us about a number of topics. But I do want to take this opportunity to thank the many community members, thought leaders and advocates, state and local social justice organizations, many diverse nonprofits across the state, and individuals directly impacted and harmed by cannabis prohibition and criminalization that contributed to the recommendation report before you. But this is just one stop in the process, one cog in the wheel. The CRC, the public has done their part so far with showing up to our public hearings in a very good way. The CRC is now doing its part by assembling this recommendation report and handing it over to the board for a vote. But now the public still needs to stay engaged by engaging with their legislators on making sure that these recommendations are heard from them as well, between the public and legislators as well. So really excited about all of the work that has been put into this. And then one final thank you to all of the staff, particularly our comms team, staff at the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and all of the support that they have provided in making sure that we got this across the finish line. And we're really excited to present this to the board and the public.
Thank you, Director McWhite. Are there any questions from the board? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion on this matter? Last call for a motion on this matter.
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we accept the report on social equity and excise fee hearing report.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Nash.
In previous years, Commissioner Barker and I have hosted the CEF hearings and really enjoyed hearing from the public. Our role here is to communicate what you ask, and we communicate this through this report to the legislature. I think, speaking for myself, I would like to see the monies go towards the communities that are, quote, most hardest hit. And I think what Director Mick White said is very important. You really need to reach out to your legislator to advocate for that, because you need to be heard. If you take the time to step up to share your ideas, you should see them through. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Any further discussion on this motion to accept the report on the social equity excise fees? If there's no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Nay.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of applications for name changes.
Director Brown?
Thank you, Chairwoman Wainu, and thankfully this will be the last time I'm presenting name changes. But we do have three. Harmony Holdings of New Jersey LLC wishes to change their name to Illicit Gardens NJ LLC, Jane's Joint LLC to Jane's Boutique Dispensary, and Perennial Group Corporation to Cream Retail Dispensary Corporation. So they've all submitted the necessary documentation and are filed with the Secretary of State and are recommended for approval here.
Thank you. Any questions on the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, you want to go?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the name change applications.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the name change applications? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the consideration of applications for ownership changes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we had three ownership changes, and I do just want to note in the board packet, the recommendation memo still includes Harvest Works, but Harvest Works is not being considered today. So I just want to note that on the record. It's not on the slide here. Up for consideration are Abco Garden State LLC, which is adding a new owner, Sweet Leaves LLC, which is a change to their existing ownership structure, and Happy Time Buds adding a new owner. They've all submitted necessary documentation, complied with the background investigation as appropriate, and are all recommended for approval here by the CRC board.
Thank you, Director Brown. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the request for transfer of ownership resolution.
Moved by Vice Chair. All right, moved by Vice Chair Delgado, seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the requested ownership changes?
Yes, I have just a comment.
Commissioner Nash.
So just to remind the public that for any diversely owned businesses, The majority ownership must remain with the diversely owned business owner throughout the 24-month period upon the business opening. So that's very important for us here, and I just wanted to emphasize that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Staying.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item up for consideration is the adult use cannabis business conditional license applications.
Director Brown?
Thank you. As per usual, I'll just give an overview of the whole process, and then we'll go through the cohorts one by one. So we have conditional applications, conditional to conversion applications, and then straight to annual applications up for consideration today. As part of our licensure process, when we receive an application, they're sorted by time and priority. And so initially, we assign a priority based on whether they're a social equity business, a diversely owned business, impact zone business, or just have bonus points or just a general application. They're then reviewed in accordance to that priority and time. The priority is verified, so we make sure that they're being moved in accordance with what they actually qualify for. Applications are then assessed for completeness. Those that are deemed complete are then moved forward to scoring. Those that score sufficiently high per the notice of application acceptance are then moved on to financial management and limitations review. That looks at, agreements and also ownership structure initially. For annuals and conversions, those are then they move to qualification, which is criminal history background checks, financial probity, and a background investigation into the business itself and the proposed operations. Finally, those that are estimated to be deemed qualified then move forward to quality control, where we make sure that they're compliant with all our regs, and then finally they're presented to the board for potential approval. So first, we have 32 conditional licenses that have gone through this process and are recommended for approval by the board.
Thank you. And yes, I see the conditional license applications are listed. Are there any questions from the board regarding the conditional license applications being recommended for approval? Hearing no questions, is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the 32 conditional license applications.
Moved by Commissioner Nash. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Just a brief comment, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Barker?
I just want to ask the community to please, please, please be careful not to create names, business names, products, merch, and/or related packaging and labeling that may confuse or mislead children or are related to children-related products or establishments. And I want to be clear, I do understand the need for creative control and freedom of expression, and I understand in the new industry we're trying to balance that, so I don't want to inhibit that, but at the same time, I do want to balance that against public safety so our children are protected. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Barker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item up for consideration are the adult use cannabis business conversion license applications.
Director Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 11 conditional to annual conversion licenses up for consideration by the board. They went through the process I outlined previously and are recommended for approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board regarding the 11 applications? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter? I call for a motion on.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the conditional-to-annual license conversion applications.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Is there a second?
Madam Chairwoman, I second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the 11 applications? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saidi, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid-Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item up for consideration are the adult use cannabis business annual license applications.
Director Brown, I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, Chairwoman Waynu. So there are 8 annual licenses up for consideration. They've all gone through the process I outlined previously and are all recommended for approval.
Thank you. Any questions from the board regarding the 8 applications recommended for approval? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the 8 adult use annual license applications.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saidi, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid-Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item up for consideration are the expanded alternative treatment center certifications.
Thank you. Director Brown, I'll turn it over to you to describe the certification requests that were submitted.
Thank you. So we have one ATC certification up for consideration. It's Brute's Roots for to expand their class into class 2, their medical manufacturing permit into a class 2 manufacturing license. So they have to show they have, adequate supply. They can continue to serve patient need, have municipal approval. They've met all those requirements as noted in our regs and are recommended for approval here.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve Roots alternative treatment certification.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saidi, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid-Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item up for consideration are the adult use cannabis business annual license renewal applications.
Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, Director Brown.
Thank you, Chairwoman Waynu. There are 5 annual license renewals up for consideration today. They're all ending their first year of operations. It's NJ Leaf, Mountain View Pharmacy, the Social Leaf, Leaf House, and Kind Kush. They've submitted the necessary documentation required by our regs and are all recommended for approval here for their first annual license renewal.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board regarding these annual license renewals? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the 5 annual license renewal applications.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid-Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the 5 annual license renewals? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Saidi, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Abstain.
Commissioner Del Cid-Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda, we have cases, claims, and petitions.
Thank you. I will turn it over to Deputy Riggs to provide a summary of the ATC employee ID cards.
Thank you, Chairwoman. We have one medical employee that applied for their ID card, and they had a disqualifying conviction under the medical statutes. This individual was given the opportunity to show rehabilitation in accordance with the statute. They provided adequate documentation to show that they've been rehabilitated from this disqualifying conviction, and they are recommended to be approved to hold an ATC identification card. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the request for determination rehabilitation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Coso. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker?
Aye.
Commissioner Del Coso?
Yes.
Commissioner Nash?
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado?
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. Next item on the agenda, we have the open public comment period.
Thank you. As we prepare to hear public comments, I want to remind everyone that members of the public can submit their comments to the commission in writing by going to our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. The deadline to submit written comments for today's meeting is 5:00 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday, May 9th. Written comments will be shared with the commission members, and they will be made public. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. When Mr. Said will call out the names of our registered speakers, when you hear your name called, please come down to the front, and the microphone has already been turned on. Thank you to our tech crew. And so we ask that you just state your name very clearly for the record, and your time will be kept track of. We will be keeping track of that 3-minute time over here on the clock to your left. Mr. Said, can you please call on our first registered speakers?
Thank you, Chairwoman. As a reminder, public speakers during this afternoon's public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and concise during your comments. The first name on the list is Margarita Salyuk. I don't see that person. Next is Tiffany Pearsall. Next on the list is Deanna Robinson. Next on the list is Chris Aponte. Next is Kevin Babylonia. Next is Thomas Ginefra.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Ginefra. I'm the CEO and founder of Terp Taxi Cannabis Delivery. Thank you for having me today. Jeff, thank you for your time, and I wish you good luck in your new position. Chris, congratulations. Thank you for all the hard work to the both of you. I also wanted to say thank you very much for giving my business a conditional license in February. I didn't get a chance the last few meetings to say that, so I finally got the chance today. And my business partner, Jordan Acuno, also says thank you very much as well. There's just few things that I just wanted to address, very simple. The first being, my software team is from Colorado, and they were mentioning that the way that Colorado structures their administrative code, they require retailers to work with social equity delivery services. So, and for the foreseeable future. So if we could possibly take a look at how they structure their administrative code and see if we can adopt the same rules, it would be greatly appreciated, especially coming from my business partner, being a social equity applicant, being in a disadvantage for a long time. I think that, to have come this far through that adversity, and possibly have a connection to retailers would be an amazing thing. The second thing I wanted to touch up on is we're obviously hearing the news that cannabis is being rescheduled, or it's quite likely it will be. And so, I'm sitting in my room thinking about it, and obviously probably in my lifetime it's possible that it would be entirely descheduled. And it made me think of who would be getting into the business, besides people like myself. And I immediately thought of, DoorDash and Uber. And so if we could see if we could amend the administrative code to, possibly prohibit those larger corporations who haven't gone through the trials and tribulations of, getting involved in an industry that, quite frankly, it's very difficult, right? And so they weren't there through that adversity. So I feel like if we could just, develop just a little bit of language that would prohibit or at least make it more difficult for them to get involved, because they didn't go through that hard work and risk their life savings and deal with any adversity, like we have, and anybody, and a bunch of other people that are in my position. So if we could just consider that, that would be greatly appreciated. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Next person on the list is Jason Cabs.
Hi. Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak today. Chairman Huenu, rest of the executive board, really appreciate this. I'm Jason Cabas, I'm with GSCC Management. I'm here today speaking on behalf of my company, as well as I believe on behalf of a lot of licensees from the 2019 graduating class, so to speak, the 2019 ATCs. We feel pretty left out and left behind in this program these days. We have suffered a lot of harm that the previous ATCs from the 2012 and 2018 classes have not suffered. I can sit here and go through the timeline, but I just want to lay that out in the front end. We do not feel included in this adult use program. We feel like we're being left behind. We sat through a lot of harm during the 2-year injunction, and people are forgetting about us, we feel like. A lot of us cannot afford to pay these grandiose crossover fees from medical to adult use. We think it's an excessive fee, we think it's onerous, and we think our fee should be equitable to other entrants into the market. But just to reiterate, let's go through a brief timeline of what the 2019 ATCs have actually gone through. In 2018, when Governor Murphy took office, he said he was going to expand the medical program, and he did in a very good fashion. He created more qualifying conditions, and we had an RFA in 2018. The state moved quickly on licensing those RFA winners, and the medical program was expanded. We were then told to be another RFA in 2019, and there was. It was announced in July of 19, and the apps were due in August of 19. And in November of 19, DOH disqualified 51 applicants due to them failing Part A of the application. DOH told everyone well ahead of time, if you fail Part A, if you do it wrong, you're disqualified. DOH, in their power and in their right, disqualified these applicants, but 9 of them were aggrieved and they sued the state. Then the appellate division put a stay on the grading process, and DOH was not allowed to do anything. Then COVID happened and the state sort of shut down for a while. The entire time, these 2019 applicants were required to still maintain their commercial real estate. We spent money for 2 years while this injunction occurred. In October of 2021, we were finally granted licenses. Then about 3 weeks after that, adult use passed, and the state, in their right and power, as they should have, began aggressively licensing adult use companies and opening this market up in a very equitable fashion. And I'm a very champion of that process, very much a champion of that process. But like I said, we've been kind of left behind. And I know I'm short on time here, so I'm going to start going fast. There was a fee structure imposed in March of 2023 that did not exist. It's not part of the statute. And my company, we're a cultivation company. We're required to pay $300,000 if we want to, $400,000 if we want to participate in adult use. That's just not attainable for small companies that burnt capital for 2 years while the state sort of did what they had to do. So I'm proposing joining both adult use and medical companies into a single regulatory framework, increasing competition on the medical level, and having everyone kind of be a part of one single program. We're hurt. We're not large companies. We can't afford these huge fees. We don't have the upside of being part of the program for multiple years like the 2012 and 2018s do. We just don't know what we did wrong and why we're being charged such an exorbitant fee to just be included in a very good program that I believe is the best program in the country, basically because of our social equity initiatives. We just want to be a part of it. That's all. Thank you for your time.
Next on the list is Edward Grimes.
Good evening. My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey fighting for cannabis patients' rights and the rights of the disabled. I received a lot of complaints in the last few weeks from wheelchair users all over New Jersey telling me that they can't get into some dispensaries in New Jersey. And I was a little shocked to hear that because I thought that we had regulations in place for that. For example, Commissioner Nash, to her credit, will not give a license to anyone who's not unionized or talking about unionization. I love that energy. I think that's great. I think we need that same energy for wheelchairs because I'd like to know, what is the CRC's regulations for wheelchair accessibility for dispensaries? Nada. Bupkis. Ungats. There is none. You may follow the ADA, but the ADA allows people to be grandfathered in. There's a beautiful dispensary in Maplewood that we're working with right now to help her with her wheelchair access after the fact because this was slipped through the cracks. We're working with Mad Hatter to fix their accessibility issues. We want to do this before a time of crisis because I've talked to people in wheelchairs that want to protest every dispensary that has no wheelchair access. I thought, wait, hold up. Let me talk to the commission first. Let me see if we can work something out because I was ignorant to a lot of things myself till I wasn't. For example, I fought for 4 years for a traffic light on Avenue C in Bayonne. 4 years. And a blind person reached out to me. He says, Lefty, I know you got this light on Avenue C, but I know you're on Broadway working on a light. Can you get a light for a blind person? I said, what's that? He said, it's a light that goes, wait, walk. And I was ignorant to that. I did not know that was for blind people. So I feel like I wasted 4 years on Avenue C fighting for a light that was not compliant for everybody. Now I have to go back and get that retrofitted. We don't want a wheelchair war. We want to avoid that at all costs, but they're mad. They're upset. We got disabled vets that can't get into dispensaries that are calling me up, fuming. What are you going to do about this? Well, I'll come to the commission and ask you guys for help. Follow the ADA, even more. What I would ask is, Commissioner Brown, this is your last day in office. On your last day in office, will you introduce a resolution that will allow disabled vets to enter every dispensary in New Jersey, starting now? You can't do nothing about the ones that are already unramped, but starting now, will you introduce an ordinance that will help our disabled vets get into every dispensary? Is that something you can do today? That's what I would ask for. Put the last first. We're patient-focused here. Let's prove it. Let's prove it to the patients. Let's prove it. Let's show them that we are patient-focused. There's a lot better we can do, and we don't need a wheelchair war. So please help us.
Next person on the list is Xavion Jackson. I'm just going to go through the list of everyone that didn't speak up. Margarita Tsalyuk, Tiffany Pearsall, Deanna Robinson, Chris Aponte, Kevin Babylonia, and Xavion Jackson. Madam Chairwoman, this will conclude the registered speakers we have for today's meeting.
Thank- So if there are any technical issues with the registration list, please connect with Mr. Saeed afterwards, and we want to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity to speak. But for now, I would invite anybody who did not get a chance to speak to submit their comments in writing. By going to our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. Thank you to everybody who shared their experiences and their thoughts and their recommendations with the commission today. This concludes the business that this concludes the planned business that we do have before us today. Is there any new business for the commission to consider? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I do have one new business item to consider that I do want to bring up, if that's okay, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Barker?
I would like to ask my fellow commissioners to consider voting next meeting. And Mr. Grimes, thank you. You consistently raise awareness on inclusivity for all people, and that is not taken lightly. And I know something that we've talked about before, has come up before, virtual meetings. Something Mr. Grimes has brought up. A lot of people cannot make it physically to our building. And then there are impediments when they get to the building. So I'm asking, can we vote to add virtual meeting option to our standard meeting protocols so that those who cannot make it in person can still join us virtually?
So Commissioner Barker, I want to make sure I get the motion written accurately. Could you restate the motion that you are
The
making?
motion would be for us to take the next few weeks before next meeting to deliberate and then vote by next meeting whether to add a virtual meeting option to our regular meeting protocols so that those who cannot make it physically due to disabilities or other reasons can still join the meeting. Thank you.
So I want to make sure I have this written accurately. So you're moving that we take the next few weeks to deliberate and vote at the next board meeting to have a virtual meeting option. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a second to this motion?
My second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Madam Chair, I
Yes.
have a clarification question. Do we need to vote on this type of item, or you as the chair can make that, that decision?
Thank you, Commissioner Del Seco. So, no, I don't believe that we need to vote as a board on this item. And I actually believe that we had stated a while ago, admittedly it has been a while, that we presently are not technologically set up to accept virtual public comments when we have our in-person meeting. But this is not an item that I believe that the board needs to vote on. I do believe it is something that I could work directly with staff on the technical logistics of our meeting to see if there are ways that we can increase accessibility to our regular meeting schedule.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you and I have had sidebar conversations about this before, so I do thank you for that, for making this a priority.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Yes, just to clarify, I do want to stress the importance of the board because, as you just said, Madam Chair, it's been a long time since we've revisited this. It has been outstanding. Admittedly, I've been talking about it behind the scenes. And as you just said, you may work with staff directly, but it kind of leaves out the remaining board members. And so I think this gives us an opportunity for everybody to resolve their questions, as Commissioner Del Cid Coso just raised, and then bring it to a head next meeting where we can weigh in on a vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Barker. I don't recall any conversations or any comments from you about this matter, but I think that this is, I mean, I've got no objections to figuring it out and seeing what we can do. Again, I don't believe this is an item that the full board, this is an official business matter that the full board needs to weigh in on, but I hear you.
Thank you.
I would like to make a comment. I think that the idea is great. I mean, we certainly want everyone to be able to attend, but I do believe that this is something more that we need to flesh out and among us without having a board vote.
Can I just make a point of clarity? What am I missing here? We're still going to be able to flesh it out. All we're doing differently is instead of deciding it internally, we're going to make the decision publicly like we do for many other matters. Many other matters can be determined behind the scenes, but we still bring them to the floor for a vote. And so I would just ask staff again and ask our board members to just strongly consider it. And Commissioner Delgado, I thank you for seconding the motion. But again, we just heard from an individual pouring his heart out on behalf of others who are left out. I mean, this to me is a no-brainer, but I will just defer to the vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Barker. Is there any further discussion? And I want to make sure I don't neglect staff who are involved in coordinating logistics. Is there anything that staff would like to share for the board's consideration on this motion relating to meeting logistics?
I mean, happy to work with you. Well, I won't be here, but but I'm sure Executive Director Riggs is happy to work with you, Madam Chair, to figure out a solution.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, I have another question. So are there other boards that have virtual meetings here in New Jersey?
I'm sure there are. I don't know their logistical configurations for those meetings. Off the top of my head, I don't have any information on the details there.
I would just note, part of the consideration, we're going to have to ask legal counsel about Open Public Meetings Act and what's permissible, what's not under those statutes. There's different types of boards that are different requirements for them. So I'm not saying that there's a barrier there, but that will have to be a part of the consideration is that. So, that to the point of, working together to see what we can do and then trying to operationalize it, that's a piece of it.
Thank you, Director Brown. Anything further? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, on the motion to take the next few weeks to deliberate and vote at the next board meeting to have a virtual meeting option, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Barker,
Aye.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado. Yes. Chairwoman Wainu.
For the reasons stated earlier, I don't believe this is an item that we do need to vote on, and I believe that I can work with staff to and the board members to make sure that we create accessible public meetings. So my vote is no.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Is there any further new business for the commission to consider? Hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn, Madam Chair.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to adjourn? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes. The time is 1:12, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.